Okay, thanks again for staying with us on the show, TMI Monday. We're going to do some reflections on Democracy Day. Yesterday was Democracy Day, in commemoration of the June 12th anniversary. Of course, you know that in 2018, that transition metamorphosis took place where Democracy Day was moved from May 29 to June 12th. But it's an opportunity to reflect on how democracy has evolved in Nigeria using June 12 as a standard. So today on the program, we're taking that conversation further. You can also join the conversation. You can follow me on my Twitter handle, Duke Okosun. I'll follow you back on our Twitter handle here at ITV Radio NG. Of course, we'll follow you back. Post a comment there, we'll share it. I've got with me in the studio the Executive Director of Foundation for Good Governance and Social Change, Comrade Austin Osakwe. Comrade, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. Happy Democracy Day to all our viewers out there.
Okay, I also have with us, we're taking him out of his comfort zone. And that's because this is the penultimate year before the 2023 election. Everybody needs to be up and doing to ensure that the best and the best only emerges in that election. The last time we were together was at the private screening of Gbege, the Omodion Saga, which is a movie, a film produced, directed by our very own, the Governor, Ambassador Lancelot Odua in Masrin. The I was there. Several dignitaries with great movie, great film. I don't know if it's out yet, but I'm sure once it's out, you can have the opportunity to view it any of the cinema. But Ambassador Lancelot Odua, Ambassador, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's get started. Comrade, let me start off with you. June 12th for many people is like a watershed in our political evolution. And interestingly, some of those things that midwife that process as challenges, they are still very, very relevant today. So you want to ask the question, what have we really learned politically, democratically, that when you look around the country today, you still find these challenges? We're still talking about no water. I mean, politicians are going to complain and campaign. I will give you water, I will give you electricity, I will give you road. These are things, and then, I mean, help us make sense of this, comrade.
All right, I think the proper place to start is to look at what June 12 represents, the significance of June 12. Why was it imperative to move it from May 29 to June 12? June 12 is a watershed. June 12 was the day in which Nigerians shattered one of the most mythical assumptions in this country. Let's establish that Nigeria is a place that many believe is difficult to govern because of the diversity, ethnic diversity, religious diversity. But the June 12, 1993 election destroyed those myths. That election showed that when Nigerians desire development, when Nigerians identify one of them who they believe can provide for them the basic necessities that they require, somebody who can cast a vision and mobilize and galvanize the rest of us to embrace that vision and attain development, Nigerians will overlook ethnic differences. They will overlook religious differences. The champion of the June 12 struggle was the late Moshood Kashimawo Abiola. This was a man who cut across tribes. He cut as a Muslim, he was known to have invested so much of his wealth to promote the Christian religion. He invested in the youth through sports, through empowerment programs. He was an ambassador to the world. He was an African citizen. He was a pan-Nigerian human being, not just a politician. As a businessman, he's known to have been one of the biggest employers of labor. He allowed his investment to remain here for the purpose of creating employment. So when that election came, we had a Tofa, Mohammed Tofa from Kano. We had an Emperor Abiola from Ogun in the southwest. Now, when the SDP gave the ticket to Emperor Abiola, he went to the north and picked Kingibe, another Muslim. There was no opera, there was no hoopla about the Muslim ticket. Nigerians voted to him, so much so that Kano State, in the very local government of his opponent, Abiola won the election decisively. That is the Nigeria that we look back on when we talk about the June 12th struggle. Now, to your question, where are we after that? Whereas in 1993, Nigerians overlooked ethnic and religious diversity. In 2022, the biggest problems that confront us are these same diversities. In fact, never in the history of this country have we had so much polarization across religious and ethnic lines. So what lesson have we learned in the past almost 30 years? Yeah. It means that we have learned no lesson. Instead of building on the building blocks of 1993, we have drifted apart. If you look at one of the most famous videos, the campaign video, that jingle by Emperor Abiola, he talked about no water, no road, no school, no health, no employment, no jobs. That's what he campaigned with in 1993. Today you look across the length and breadth of Nigeria and you find that the rate of inflation is not just galloping, it's no longer hyper, it's flying. To the extent that you go to the market in the morning, by the time you go back in the evening, the prices have gone up. In this country, all the higher institutions put together produce over 300,000 graduates. Today, a combination of the public and private sector is not able to provide employment for 10%. What that means is that we are producing hundreds of thousands of graduates every year, pushing them into the employment market, and there is no job for them. And we do not have systems in place to make these graduates self-reliant. So when you talked about Lancelot bringing young people together to produce a movie, that's one aspect of job creation. Everywhere you go around this country, there are talents for young people. You see young people who have budding talents in every area. Yeah. So the point we are making today as we commemorate June 12th is to send a message to our people that our problem really is not tribe. Our problem is not religion. They have only become problems because certain people who seek to provide means for themselves to control the resources belonging to all of us exacerbate these issues so as to divide us, and in this midst of division they capitalize. Okay. Our problem has always been the death of visionary leadership, a leadership that can harness the resources that God has blessed this country with and to provide a solid future for the youths so that they truly can be leaders of tomorrow.
All right, Lance, I just need to scale up the conversation a little bit along the lines of the foundation led by Comrade Austin Osakwe, using June 12, the outcome of June 12 as a foundation as well. What are your thoughts in terms of the leadership then compared to what we have today in our projections for 2023?
When he was speaking, I just realized that by 2023, it will be 30 years. 30 years. And there's something about 3. I do not want to bedevil the issue we already know. It is not just the absence of good leadership, but I want to say here that the absence of leadership in its totality. Because looking at our country from the lowest cadre of government that is supposed to be the next door neighbor of us,
Yeah.
to the various representatives, to the state governments, before you now talk of other representatives at the federal level, then the federal government, you will agree with me that there is a complete absence of leadership. There's a vacuum. How do you explain that? 30 years, almost 30 years after, as at yesterday night, there was a total collapse of the national grid. A country of over 200 million people that cannot produce stable 5,000 megawatts of light to supply 200 million people and above. And you say there's leadership? So as far as I'm concerned, there is a vacuum. And that vacuum needs to be filled. That is my position. And the June 12 provides us that opportunity to reflect. Hello, Abiola campaigned about giving us water almost 30 years ago. He campaigned about giving us employment almost 30 years ago. He campaigned about stable electricity. So, wouldn't you not agree with me that for almost 30 years, there has not been anybody, not any soul, that has been able to at least fill one of those vacuums that was seen years past. We are still here, grouping with the same issue. In fact, it's getting worse. We are over 50s. We were here when before NEPA, as we used to call them, goes off with the light. Yeah. They will make announcement. Right. They will publish in the newspaper that come Saturday, 9th, 11th of June, from 12 o'clock to 4, there will be light outrage within this area and these houses. Were we not here? Were we not here when in time past, you just walk, I was living at New Benin area, you just open your tap and water is gushing out, yeah, and you go straight and take a drink. Were we not here? Were we not here when people just, oh, you see a policeman, it's as if a God has come home. Were we not here? Were we not here when people say, okay, I'm going to Lagos. They are leaving by 9 p.m. I'm going to Lagos because I must resume work tomorrow morning. Were we not here?
We're here.
Were we not here when Uniben, the higher institution owned by federal government, they say somebody is going to school, the parents will have written a whole lot of list and you give the child 2 naira. Were we not here? So, are we not supposed to build on what we had that were good, then begin to find solution to that is not good? But here we are, in this past 30 years, when Nigeria came out to say, okay, we believe the message by MKO Abiola, MKO, you be the man, oh, we were here when that jingle ravaged the whole of the land. There was no tribe, there was no creed, there was no language, there was no religion. That message resonated. What has happened? But I am beginning to believe again that we are getting close to 30 years and there's power in 3. Watch out.
Okay. I'll come back to that point. But Comrie, let me get you again to lap up on some of the views that have come forth. In these 30 years, these issues have remained the way they've always been. We've all been here. Why is it that it's not been so easy, haven't seen all these challenges for the people to mobilize themselves, galvanize themselves, and replicate what happened on June 12th? Why has that been so difficult?
Yeah, there are several factors. You recall that after the June 12 election was annulled, the military came back to power. The military is anti-democratic. We always say that the problem with Nigeria is that we have strong individuals, we do not have strong institutions. Institutions require time to mature. Institutions require a sustained period of making mistakes, amending those mistakes, and getting it right. The democracies that we point to across the world are democracies that are hundreds of years old. We want to be like them today. It's good to emulate them, but are you willing to go the way they went? So the military struck, and then all those institutions that had been built over time were jettisoned. Everything was collapsed. In one announcement, one man abolished everything by a decree. So in 1999, we started again afresh. The children who were born in 1999 today are about 23 years. So they have had a period of learning of just 23 years. But they have a history to refer to, and the history they refer to is the history that begins and ends with immediate effect. Democracy forbids immediate effect. So one of the reasons why we haven't learned anything since 1993 is the truncation of the process of building institutions by the military. The second is that for people to see a vision and mobilize and galvanize themselves to embrace that vision and turn their fortunes around, they require certain basic requirements. And there are two major ones I need to mention. One of them is education. Education is an army that liberates the mind. The battle is in the mind. There are strongholds in the mind. As long as these strongholds are there, people cannot aspire. When these strongholds are there, the people behave like the spies who were sent to go and spy out the land in that Bible story. Who saw giants? They saw physical giants, and those giants became spiritual giants. So in their mind, going into that land was an impossibility. But there were two who had been liberated, who testified that although there were giants, those giants were not insurmountable. That's what education does. Incidentally, it's not an accident that as we speak, whereas party primaries are holding, campaigns are holding, the students who represent the future of this country, who you are asking to mobilize themselves and the rest of us, have been at home, far away from the furnace of learning, far away from formal educational aspiration. They are at home, either doing menial jobs, or playing with their phones, or lamenting their lot.
Or even doing crime.
Or crime. So education is one factor that has drawn us back. The second is increasing pervasive poverty. Look, a hungry man is not going to sit down with you and discuss niceties and discuss principles. A hungry man is a hungry man. So number one is angry. Number two, he doesn't have the luxury of coming to sermonize and proselytize. His own priority is where he can get the next meal. And our crop of leaders have identified this. Do you know that when you say when the election comes, we're going to get our PBC, we're going to vote against them, these people are laughing at you. Because for them, the calculation is that when they roll in money, 5,000 for an individual, he will deny his parentage. He will deny even his own existence. Because at that time, he can't listen to sermons. What he is interested in is how to use this 5,000 naira to cook a pot of soup, a pot of stew, buy rice and gari. What mathematics? That is his priority. So the leaders who emerged recognize this. So all these campaigns we are talking about, we know how these campaigns go. It is not the people who gather to listen to politicians. There are people in this town, it's big business. All they do is that they have a large group of people that they supply during campaigns. They are waiting now for campaigns to start. It's their season. Okay. So they ask the politician, do you need 1,000 people? It's 3,000 per head. So they supply. On election day, the agents of these politicians are standing by. Haven't you heard somebody rush into the house? So say, Mama Saro, you are still here, carry your PVC, they are giving money out there. Yeah. It's the money. So these are the two factors that have kept us where we are, and we have not been able to identify what the problems are and to mobilize ourselves to overcome these problems.
All right, Ambassador, let's get you to talk along the lines of 2023 election is just around the corner, and a whole lot is going on in that direction with primaries being held, candidates have emerged, running mates is also a major talking point now, and then the usual, conversation along the line of, we shouldn't have a Muslim ticket, it must be a Muslim Christian ticket, and all of that is going on. I mean, it's understandable against the background of where we are now compared to where we were in 1993, as it were. But let's look at it. Do you think it's possible to replicate the June 12 election in 2023? If you think it's possible, what are the things that you think needs to be done to be able to drive the political process in that direction?
I want to sound very pessimistic or optimistic. I want to sound very believing. I want to sound true to the fact that the only thing that does not change is change itself. And from what I can feel, from what I'm hearing, from the anger, people are certainly, definitely getting tired of the same system. They are getting tired of the recyclement. They are getting tired of seeing same faces over and over and over again. And they are getting tired of the fact that people could say, I heard that yesterday, don't worry. I'm a leader in my, last time make an arrest. I'm a leader in my village. I have 800 people that I control. Wherever I tell them to go, that's where they are going to go. I can feel that people are getting tired of that. I can feel that like it was in 1993, same thing is possible 2003, 30 years after, it is possible. There's something significant about that number. And suddenly, a new kid is coming on the block. Before now, there have been just two major dominant parties. But now, when people and the candidate of those, that both party is what we hear. But today, the equation is changing. No media house, no blogger, nobody talks now about just this one and that one. There is a new one. And there's another one. So, I believe strongly that we are in for a change. A genuine change. We are, yes, the total fabric of our society is broken down. Money, 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 money. So I begin to wonder, I said, these so-called leaders, what are they doing? Before, you used to see jingles. They really made to sensitize people about good behaviors. Yeah. You used to see jingles. People are driving on the street, they just take their pure water and throw it on the road. There is no consciousness over anything anymore. There are ministries that should be responsible for these things. even within that crowd, you see people complain. So I am of the school of thought. I believe strongly that some persons are taking it upon themselves to be the vehicle, the multi-purpose vehicle that will effect a change. And I can say here, with all sense of responsibility, that our own never finish.
Okay. All right. Comrade, there are myriad of problems staring at our faces today. Insecurity, killings, kidnapping, banditry, and what have you.
Poverty.
I mean, we can just go on, the list is endless. In the face of all of this, how realistic is this seemingly budding movement that will help to midwife a new narrative by 2023? How realistic is that?
Okay, now I'm going to be as forthcoming as possible. Matter is in a constant state of motion, which aligns with what Lancelot has said. And the only thing that is constant is change. Just take a look around. I think the Bible says something about looking at the weather and then knowing what is to come. Just take a look around. There is an air of expectation. There is a, look, we didn't start collecting PVCs today. The call to go and collect PVCs didn't start today. It has been coming with every election. But the one now has caught fire. Yesterday I was seeing a video. The reenactment of the NSAS situation where people brought food from their homes and they were willing to share with others. At TBS, Port Harcourt, everywhere. People just gather to say, give us our PVCs. What has suddenly happened? Something is pushing
Triggering it.
But you have made a point. How can we jettison the lure of feeding Luca, 3,000, 5,000? But let me tell you, no arms, no weapons can withstand the strength of an idea whose time has come. He has prophetically talked about the number 3. I don't know about that, but I know that something is waiting to happen. And let me dwell on the issue of the third force. There have been attempts before to have a third force. But there's something unique now. The third force is being built around an institution that has been there for so long, and that is labor. If it is true that the Labour Party is a product of the Nigeria Labour Congress, something is going to happen. The workers have been complaining that they have been holding the short end of the stick. The workers are saying that salaries are not regular. The workers are saying that when minimum wages are announced, it doesn't get to them. The workers are saying that they cannot afford the price of transport from home to office. In fact, they have summed it up by saying that their take-home pay does not take them home. Woe unto that person who keeps lamenting when he sees an opportunity and he doesn't take it. For me, for Nigerian workers, and indeed for progressive civil society, because there has always been a collaboration between civil society and labor, this is the time to truly show to the political class that you have what it takes to mobilize yourself and stand behind an individual whom you have assessed as being fit and capable. You gave him a ticket to represent that constituency. For me, labor should stop lamenting. Civil society should stop lamenting. The poor who have always felt that they have been shortchanged should stop lamenting. There is an opportunity. And make no mistake about this. When people decide that this is the time to effect change, it will be like saying your money perish with you. But do you know that we have a history in this country, in the recent past, where people actually collected money and voted according to their conscience? In 2023, people are going to make up their mind from home. They will make up their mind from home and hold the PVC and be reciting the name of the individual and the name of the party. But they will go there and open themselves up, even to be bribed. Knowing that the money that is being used to bribe them is their sweat, is their money. They will collect it and move in and cast their vote for that individual, for that party that they have made up their mind months before that day to vote for. So when you ask me,
in spite of these challenges,
how
realistic,
how realistic is it? I think it's realistic.
Okay.
However, this is the time to know whether Nigerians actually have been suffering. When Laszlo say, oh, no light, this is the time for Nigerians to demonstrate against it. The protests were, look, election day will be a day of protest. But it is not a protest of, we not go agree, we not go agree. It's a protest of, action. I have my PVC and I'm going to use it. Now, the final word on this is this. There is a fear. You know, during the NSAS, why the legitimate NSAS protest was going on peacefully, some powers also sponsored other groups.
The illegitimate
ones to become violent. So we're asking the question. Around the country, we hope that this resolve to institute change, again, is not going to be on tribal or regional or religious basis. Because poverty in the north is the same color as poverty in the east, the same color as poverty in the south, and the same color as poverty in the west. So the young people who are, schools are closed, children are at home. It's all over the country.
Absolutely.
All right. There is no light. I'm not aware that there's a particular state that can jump up and say, oh, they don't have light over there, we have here. There is none. I am not aware that there is a place in this country where there's a 50% difference in rising prices in this country. It appears it's total. I am not aware that there's a state where people don't pay rent, they live in free houses. I'm not aware that there is a state where people walk into hospitals and they get medications free. So if there is this poverty, if it is pervasive around the country, then the resolve to institute change must also be national.
All right, Lance, quickly, look at it from the last statement Austin made. Just took that question from my mouth about this seeming dichotomy in the response to this resolution to have a new narrative by 2023. It looks like what obtains down south is not what obtains down north. We've seen that happen. I mean, in recent times. How do you think that can be factored in to this conversation as it relates to projections for 2023?
To be very honest with you, the only persons that are adverse against this change now are core politicians. Core politicians. That is, the businessmen politicians, whose only means of livelihood is the game of politics. He has explained it all. The poverty in Edo is the same poverty in Jigawa. It is the same poverty in Katsina, in all of these places. In fact, this not we keep talking about, no, they do block vote, oh, this one. The poverty in those places are even worse. And when the wind of change comes, it's going to blow across every nooks and crannies of this country. Let me be very honest with you. There are a lot of corporations that are jittery as we speak. They just cannot understand what is going on. Because yesterday, it was but a dream. Oh, these social media people, you don't vote on social media. Now, they are seeing the surge as far in Abuja, for instance. People are coming out to I want to get involved. So I'm still standing strongly that this change will go round. Because some man analyzed on one of these national televisions and said, in the north, on social media, in Hausa language, all of those places, the same recycled politicians are going to use the same medium they have always used. And these are the medium, the new wave is infiltrating to say, this is how you've always been. But this is how you can be. We have trusted these people this long, for 30 years. Nothing has changed. Shouldn't you try something else?
Okay.
This message will resonate. There is and he just made a point. If truly the minimum wage in, thank God for Edo State now, just increased its own. If it's almost same nationwide, it's not different from the workers too in the northern part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And let us not undermine the fact that there is a social change. The social media is not just for negativity. It's not just for well, whatever. People are getting involved and they are feeling the message. And every day we keep getting messages from this other area that they too are tired and they sincerely want a change.
Okay, this seems to it looks like an elitist ideology. You feel that way?
No, it's not. In fact, it's the opposite. You see, the problem of Nigeria is a product of elite conspiracy. Elite in religion, elite in traditional institutions, elite in politics, elite in business. They are the ones who have held this country down. In fact, this movement is a movement being championed by the people. The one that the late Malam Aminu Kano will refer to as the Talakawa. It's being led by the socialist proletariat, if you like. It is the common people who are feeling the pains of misgovernance. They are the ones leading this. You see, let me tell you what is being bandied around. And I've heard it again and again. Oh, you require structure to win election. And I've asked, what is this structure? The structure is perhaps, as I understand it, some parties boast that they have presence in all the 774 local governments. Oh, thank God for their lives. But like I said, the greatest structure in this country is the structure of the working class. Whereas they talk about local government and work, there is no street where you don't have workers. Don't forget that we have the whole of this year to campaign. Those who say there are no structures, they will see structures soon emerging. Structures, whatever it is they define as structures, the structures will emerge. But the structures will surpass political structures. How many people hold a world meeting in any of the political parties? Yeah. Let a party come out and boast that in any world meeting they have 100 members.
Never.
We have seen them.
The only come together is money to share.
If you put all the practicing politicians, the partisan politicians together, they are not up to 5% of the voting population. So the structure that the third force will bring on board will be a structure that is led by workers themselves. And they don't need to spend money to oil these structures because they have been holding meetings before. There are going to be meetings across progressive unions. There are going to be meetings across town halls, community associations. There are going to be meetings across various strata of civil society. There are going to be meetings across the various strata of labor, Nigeria Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress, and there are different, apart from NSC and TUC. I hope you know that every profession, every trade has its own labor union. All of these are the structure. So for those looking for structure, there is the structure.
Okay, let's quickly talk about the fact that there seems to be more of the youths getting involved in this whole conversations and this whole movement and projections. What is this the uniqueness about this, projections?
Of course, the energy, the vibes, the fact that those that are actually feeling the pain, like he dropped. Over 300,000 persons will graduate every year, going to which market? Meanwhile, I did a documentary on a man who told me that 1974, when he was graduating, when he left secondary school to get to the University of Benin, they were just they are lined up, and some man is a counselor, a career counselor, advising them that he said he wanted to be a military man, and the man said, no, with what you have, go and read petroleum engineering, and the man ended up as the executive director, exploration and production. That's what a country does for you. So we hear these stories. Like when I clocked 50, I wrote that I was abandoned by orphaned by Nigeria 38 years ago. Because I saw Nigeria till I was 12. Today people are making merry that they are feeding students when they were in school. Till I was 12 years old, we were eating in school.
Yeah.
And he gave us food to eat. So what is new about, we were getting lunch in school. In other countries of the world, in the UK, children still are fed in school. So these are the reality. And the youths are told, are you sure that Nigeria, there was actually a time Nigeria was like that? Some men are coming out, elderly men, to say, a young man did a film, said, kill the 60s. Kill those that are above 60s. Because they ate their time. They ate our time. They are now eating into the time of our children and our children's children. And the youths are getting it. Listen, nobody started the NSAS protest. It started just like that.
Spontaneously.
Right now, there seems to be a figure. I don't know how he's doing it. And I keep telling politicians, we don't see you until the next 4 years.
Election.
But this is a man that somebody had kept faith, had kept contact with the people. You see, believing is not just like this.
Yeah.
It took time for people to say, a process for this guy to build the kind of thing that, and can I shock you? He probably didn't even plan for what is happening right now. The thing is overwhelmed. And why I am rooting for such a character is because now there's a responsibility. Not like those that bought their process, they have bought their position. There is a belief that if people had believed me this much and gave me this much, he has no reason.
Has to rise up to the occasion.
So, rise up to the, he has no reason at all to fail. So the youth themselves, my brother, they will drive this process, and thankfully they are large enough in numbers. A lot of them, even the diasporans, they are getting massive support from the diasporans, because the diasporans have had so much influence too in our political sphere here.
Okay.
So let's go.
All right. Thank you very much. Comrade, one last word from you.
Well, it's a battle for everyone. If we want to change our country, an opportunity has presented itself. If I'm old, I'm older than Nigeria. I'm above 60. Even though I look younger because I drink a lot of pure water, I eat a lot of eba, you know. I like that. So I'm older than 60, but I'm still sufficiently interested. And I'm going to do my little bit in my little corner, in my own quarter of the world.
Yeah.
My appeal is that the time for lamentation
is over.
It's over.
Get your PVC. That's
Get your PVC. Go and put your vote where your mouth is.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's much of time we have for this conversation, but it's an ongoing conversation just to ensure that we'll keep you up to speed what is happening politically, so you can take action. Where there is enough information, you can't really get the form. You'll be more empowered to perform your civic duties. And that's what this conversation is about. Nigeria can't change if we don't make up our mind to change. Only Nigerians can actually change Nigeria. Not the British, not the Americans, not the Canadians, and what have you. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with the last part of the show. Don't go away.